Good morning. Welcome to Stepping Up Kosher for this week. I think we're class number 16, maybe? I don't remember. But today we are doing Hamtana ben Achilas Basar and Achilas Chalav, which means waiting, pausing between milk and meat. Okay? So we've been in the middle of our, I think it's going to be like a 5 or 6 week journey about milk and meat. And this week we're going to be learning about the waiting between milk and meat. So let's dive right into it. If you have a person who ate a fleshig dish, remember, fleshig is the Yiddish term for when something is meaty. Right? It doesn't have to be meat itself. It doesn't have to be chicken itself. It can even be, eggs that have a little bit of sausage in them, or something like that, right? If a person eats a meaty dish, a meat dish, he has to wait 6 hours from whenever he ended eating meat until he begins eating anything dairy. And we are, as usual, we are going to start with the reasons. All right? There are different opinions about what the reason for this is, but let's talk about the reasons. There are those that say that the reason for this is because meat is very fatty. Meat, chicken, these foods that are in the meat category, they're fleshig, are very fatty. Because they're very fatty and greasy, let's call it, right? As we all know from washing dishes, the grease and the oil stays around for a long time. So the same thing happens in your digestive system. Whereas, let's say, something dairy would digest very quickly, or fruits and vegetables would digest very quickly. Meat or chicken, the grease of it stays around inside he's calling it the upper digestive system, whatever it is. Okay. Now, by the way, this is not just the digestive system, it's true for the mouth as well, right? But the mouth, I guess we could say, you could rinse it out well, you could do something, whatever, but because it's also the digestive system, so therefore, we say you should wait 6 hours after you finish eating something meat before you are going to eat something dairy. There are those that say it has nothing to do with the meat or the fats, with the grease or the fats, but actually it has to do with the fact that meat itself gets stuck everywhere in every crevice. If anybody's ever had a good steak, right after a good steak, what do you want? A toothpick, floss. Exactly, very good, right? Why? Because it gets stuck everywhere. It gets stuck within the teeth, and even though you might take a toothpick and the part that's bothering you might come out, but there's still other little pieces, right? It really gets everywhere, and therefore those little pieces, we're worried about two different things with those pieces, and that's why we're going to wait 6 hours. Okay. What are the two things that we're worried about? Yeah. So once you wait, so these are the two things that we are worried about. These two reasons that we just said are the two reasons that we're worried about: the grease and the meat being particles of meat being stuck in the teeth. That's why we wait 6 hours. Now, even after you wait 6 hours, there are other things that we're concerned about. You need to make sure that you complete before you start eating dairy products. What are they? Number one is you have to have concluded the previous meal. Now, I know this sounds a little silly to say, because who sits at a meal for 6 hours? Right, but let's say you're at, a long wedding, in some circles, in Hispanic circles, I think a lot, right? Weddings go like till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning in South America sometimes, no? In Argentina for sure, I don't know about other places. So let's say a wedding starts at 6 o'clock, you wash your hands for Amotzi, right? And you start the meal, boom, and they start you off maybe with a nice steak or a meat dish or something like that, right? And then you dance and you this, and you party and you, I don't know, whatever the program is, the entertainment, whatever, this dance or that dance, whatever it is. And now it's 6 hours later, you want to have dairy. You cannot have meat and dairy in the same meal, even if that meal is longer than 6 hours. Does that make sense? So you have to conclude it by making an after bracha. So let's say you had a 6 hour meal with meat. I know this is a strange phenomenon, but you have to first conclude with the after blessing, and wait 6 hours, and only after that can you start with your dairy products that you're going to be eating. Okay. There are some places, in some circles, where they say that 3 hours is enough, or perhaps even 1 hour. Now, by even there, thank you so much, Anna. A big thank you to Anna for helping with the breakfast in the mornings. Anna, comiste? Comiste, see? Take. Sure, of course. Claro. So even in those circles where they do wait only 3 hours or 1 hour, right? That is on condition that you do a proper rinse out of your mouth, and not just rinse out, but a dry out. So this means that you eat something, let's say bread, for example, that's going to, in a dry way, wipe out your mouth, and you're going to drink something like water, which is going to rinse out your mouth. However, today, because almost every single community in the world waits 6 hours, therefore you should not be lenient in this regard. Okay? But we're just making you aware of the fact that there is another opinion. Okay? Everybody with me so far? All right. Now, let's say, because we discussed that one of the reasons we wait 6 hours is because of meat stuck between the teeth. Now, let's say you wait your 6 hours, and then you notice that there's still a little bit of meat left inside your mouth. Like there's still a piece left inside your mouth. I don't know about you guys, but I'll give a practical example for me. Sometimes this happens, even with brushing my teeth, from night to morning. So, for example, I have a late night barbecue for whatever reason. People are over, whatever. We're having a really late night barbecue. I have a steak, whatever it is, and meat is stuck between my teeth. Then I go to sleep. Maybe I don't floss that night. But you brush your teeth, and still a piece of meat can be stuck. And in the morning, you wake up and you're like, hey, there's still a piece of meat in there. But I want to have my coffee with my milk, right? So don't worry about it. You're good. All right. Don't worry about it. You're good. You do, however, need to take out the piece of meat. You don't need to wait 6 hours now. Why? Because the meat that's here is not considered meat itself. It's considered like a bad taste, like we said with the right. But you do need to make sure it's gone. You cannot eat milk or dairy products while that piece of meat is stuck inside your teeth. You need to get rid of it, but you don't need to wait again. Okay? Any questions? Okay. You're happy to see Anna? Come. Let's let Anna go. Anna wants to go home. Okay, you want to say hello to all the people on Facebook? Say hi, Shelly. And hi, Vicky. You should also say hi to the people in person. Let me teach you this lesson. Just because you have a device in front of you doesn't mean you should ignore the people that are sitting here. It's all part of it. All right. Okay, you're going to sit here with me? Yeah. You're so excited to be here. Okay. Yeah. My sister calls this the cutest class at the Pasadena Jewish Academy. So she says this one Leah attends, that she gets to see her on Facebook every once in a while, etc. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about. Okay. I'm going to skip this one because it's not so practical. Let's talk about waiting after not eating meat itself, but eating a meat dish. Right? So let's say for what? Oh, you have a question? Yes.
Fish.
Go ahead.
Same criteria.
No.
Okay.
Fish is 100% parav, and you do not need to wait at all after fish. Yeah, thank God, right? Just like that, I saved you hours and hours of time. Look at that. Okay. Okay. Let's say somebody eats not chicken, but chicken fat. Let's say somebody drinks not meat, but or not chicken, but he drinks a soup or a gravy of some sort that had meat or chicken in it. Right? So he says, really, you have to wait 6 hours, just like as if you had eaten actual meat. Even though the meat is not in there anymore. Let's say you're eating chicken soup, but you're not eating the chicken. You're just eating soup. So you wanted just broth. Right? You still need to wait 6 hours. However, if you eat something that's parav, so let's say, for example, you're eating rice, right? Now, the rice was cooked together with meat in the oven at the same time, right? Or if you're going to drink soup, chicken soup, which didn't, I'm not sure exactly how he's framing this. Somehow it doesn't have chicken inside the soup, but it still has, I guess there's maybe like a chicken flavor in it from some other way. So he says, even though technically you don't need to wait 6 hours, he's saying we are strict about this because it was cooked together with meat and there's a flavor of meat in it. We are strict about it, and we wait 6 hours. And we wait 6 hours, not just 6 hours. We wait 6 hours, just like we wait 6 hours after meat itself. In other words, even if you're only going to eat something which was cooked together with milk, right? So you're eating rice which was cooked together with meat in the oven at the same time, and then you're going to eat afterwards, let's say, bread that was cooked in the oven at the same time as cheese, right? But they themselves don't have any problem with the meat. You have to wait 6 hours between one and the other. Okay? All right. Now let's turn to the flip side. Okay, let's not play with this because you're going to rip it, but you can play with these. This looks very exciting. It's keys and a telephone. Okay. Let's talk about the opposite way. Do we have to wait 6 hours after milk products? The answer is no. If you eat a dairy product, and by the way, I want to remind you that dairy does not include eggs. It's just milk, cheese, butter, things like that. So, if you are going to wait, I'm sorry, if somebody eats a dairy product, that's okay. She doesn't need to wait 6 hours. She's fine. If somebody eats a dairy product and he wants to eat after that meat, our custom is to wait 1 hour. 1 hour after dairy products before eating meat. However, there are those that say that you don't have to wait a full hour, and you can even just do it by rinsing out your mouth and as we said, wiping out your mouth and rinsing off your hands and rinsing, and that's it. So there are some opinions like that. However, our custom today and the custom of most circles, most circles I think is to wait 1 hour. There are some that say half an hour, right? Yeah, okay. If you eat hard cheese, which means that it was aged for more than 6 months, so then you have to wait 6 hours before eating meat. The same thing if you eat cheese that has a very, very strong taste. Once we're going to get to it in just a second. It's safe if you eat cheese that has a very, very strong taste. His example here is quality Swiss cheese. That's the term he uses. Okay? So then you also need to wait 6 hours until you eat meat. Yellow cheese, which is the most common cheese that we have today. Some people say you have to wait 6 hours, just like hard cheese, hard cheese means cheese that was aged for more than 6 months. And some people say, nah, just 1 hour like the rest of dairy cheese. Okay. Why? Why are we waiting longer if it's aged cheese or if it's very, very strong cheese? You want to guess? Same reason. Because it's also very greasy, also more particles, and it can get stuck. It takes longer to digest. We want to wait until that is completely gone before we. Yes, Leticia, a question? No. If anybody on Facebook has a question, by the way, feel free to type them in the chat. Hopefully, I'll see them and as a comment, and I'll address them. You had a question, but you forgot what it is. Okay, good. Let's talk about Leah. We said she doesn't need to wait any time after cheese. But what about if she eats cheese? Or if she eats meat? She just started eating. She just had her first products of cheese and chicken just the other day. And I don't know if she's had anything cheesy yet. Well, I guess she has bottles all the time, which are dairy. Right? So what about children? And what about Menachem? And what about Bina? Right? What about children that are young and it's very, very difficult for them to wait? Right? What about specifically children that take a bottle? Which a bottle is dairy. Right? So he says there is a lot of room to be lenient. Joe, help yourself to some breakfast. Make yourself a plate. And come join us. Sure. And then we'll put out the filling afterwards. He says there's a lot of room to be lenient. And he says you have to judge it as per the age. Okay? But you certainly do not need to demand of a 2-year-old child, after they have a little piece of chicken or schnitzel or whatever it is, and now they want to have their bottle to go to sleep, you don't need to make them wait 6 hours. Okay? There are some people that they have the following custom, which is, when the child is 3 years old, they wait 1 hour. You've heard of this before?
No, go ahead.
1 second. When the child is 3 years old, they wait 1 hour. And then when the child is 5 years old, they wait 3 hours. And from when they're 10 years old, they wait 6 hours. It's just a way that people do it if they want to get the children used to it slowly. A sick person who ate, let's say, meat or a meat dish, and now he needs to have some sort of milk or dairy product in order to he needs it for his health. Let's say to get his calcium up or whatever it is that they're trying to do, right? He should wait at least 1 hour and wash his hands, and of course he should wash out his mouth and wipe out his mouth with some sort of food. And the same thing is true for a postpartum woman or a nursing woman who needs to drink milk for whatever reason. Again, at least she should wait 1 hour and properly rinse off her hands and her mouth and wipe out her mouth, etc., before she eats dairy products after meat. Let me just finish up this part of the point. Same thing for somebody who needs to, not the same exact thing. He says if somebody needs to take pills, medicine of some sort that has a dairy product in it, mixed into it, one of the ingredients is a dairy product, you do not need to wait after taking this particular medicine or pill or whatever it is, 6 hours. It has a meat product in it, right? So sometimes they have a tallow in them. That's very, very common. Or a gelatin of some sort, right? So obviously the ones that come from pigs are not allowed there. At least not unless it's like a life or death situation, right? But if it's like a regular pill, you shouldn't do that. But sometimes they replace it with, let's say, a beef tallow or something like that, right? So he says in such a situation, you don't have to wait 6 hours after taking this pill. You just swallow them, and after that you can, you shouldn't swallow them together with milk. But afterwards you don't have to wait. You really want these keys, huh? Here they are. You can just go right on to eating dairy product. And I believe the reason for that is because you're not really eating meat for enjoyment. It's medicine. It's not meat. Yes, Yehuda, you have a question.
Yeah, my question is about cheese, like Kraft singles. You know those yellow slices of cheese they make like real cheese from?
Yeah, that's fine. That's 1 hour. That's 1 hour. Yeah, that's not. Oh, okay. He was talking about these fancy Swiss cheeses and whatever, aged for 6 months, Parmesan, exactly.
So this doesn't even have cheese.
The only one that I've ever had this apply, it doesn't apply to goat cheese either.
No.
The only thing that I've ever had that it's applied to, unless I was by a fancy event and they had like these fancy, whatever, aged cheeses, but like in my typical day-to-day, the only thing I've ever had it applied to is Parmesan. Parmesan is aged for 6 months usually.
Yeah.
Usually. Okay. Opa. Okay, we're going to end off with one more point, which is, what about something which was not cooked together with meat, but it was cooked in a meat dish? So you have something that's 100% parve. Let's go back with rice. Let's do rice again. Right? It's 100% parve. It's not meat. It's not dairy. But it happens to have been cooked in a meat dish. In other words, a pot. Maybe the pot even has been used for 3 days. Now remember we said you should have separate pots to cook meat dishes, to cook your cholent in, and to make your, I don't know, whatever, right? Your cheese omelets in. So he wants to use a pot. He needs a pot for his rice. He's using a meat pot for his rice, and he's cooking his rice in it, right? So you can eat right after this. You can eat a dairy food. And you do not need to wait. And even if the meat pot was used within 24 hours for meat, in other words, it's fresh meat taste that's in it. You just need to make sure it's washed out and cleaned out, and then you can cook rice in it, and that rice does not make you fleshig, doesn't make you need to wait 6 hours. The same thing is the opposite. If you have a dairy dish and you cook rice in it, or whatever, any sort of parve dish inside this dairy pot or pan, you're allowed to afterwards eat meat, no problem. All right? Thank you all for joining us for Stepping Up Kosher for today. It's been a short class, but a very important one, a very practical one, about all the laws of waiting between meat and milk. And next week we are going to talk about proximity, meat and milk proximity.